Dog Films presents Paid to Dream with Charles Dennis.
Hello, it's Charles Dennis, and welcome back to Paid to Dream. A lot of people say I'm not pitching this show enough. Well, I am pitching it to you now. If you like this show, don't just click like, call a friend, call a couple of friends, tell them about Paid to Dream. It's a wonderful way to spend half an hour. We're also on Spotify, so you can be driving and listening, or you can just shut your eyes and meditate. Speaking of meditation, that's a good lead-in. This show isn't just a showbiz interview show. It is called Paid to Dream, and the lady I'm about to introduce to you is a dreamer. And she's a lady who helps you understand your dreams. Her name is Deanna Black. I have known her for 10 years now. She is a healer. She's also a hypnotherapist, past life regression. Here's Deanna Black. She'll tell you all about herself.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you've never been had, I'm telling you. You're just an amazing person. I'm
Yes.
thinking now, it was about 10 years ago, I was in Toronto, and an actress whom I knew took me to a past lives therapy session. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, it's sort of, yeah. It's
It
that's
was
what
a
they did
Friday
talk about
night.
it. Yeah, they did talk
It was a
about that.
Friday night,
Yeah.
and a lot of people would be surprised to know that I'm interested in such things, but I always have been all my life. It's a part of myself that you have allowed me to explore and encouraged, and here we are now.
Yeah.
But I am curious about how this all began for you. You are from Ontario
Yeah.
originally,
Yeah.
the Toronto area, for people
Yeah.
who think the 49th parallel, that's it. So where did you grow up?
And Downsview on Killen Wilson.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a real Toronto girl.
I am. Yeah. Yeah.
And when did you first start to realize that there was a world beyond our world?
Oh, I'm going to say right from the get-go.
Really?
Yeah, I was very blessed that because as my sister and I both being twins, right, and being brought up by a single mother, my mom was very open. So my mom always did like tea leaf readings and psychometry. And psychometry is like holding an object and getting like visions or readings off of it. And that was just normal. So I didn't think anything different. Even though
Now,
that,
did her mother, was there a history in her family of this power?
yes, like her father, my granddad, and my grandmother. But it's not. It's like you said, like it's not really something back in those times that people really talk about. It's just like they would call it as a fortune teller, or a psychic that people would
Right.
go, but it's just something that you don't really always talk so openly, because there's a lot of, people that just don't believe in it. But now we're in different times, it's everywhere because everyone needs healing, and healing is very, very, it's very much, everybody goes through abuse. Some a little bit other, like a little bit more than others, and some, not so much, but no matter what, we all go through it. And we all need healing. And whether that it's through the metaphysics, being past life regression, whatever it is, or just regression therapy of just going through the abuse that you go through this lifetime, it doesn't matter. Everyone has these abilities, and everyone needs healing. So.
When did you first discover you had the power to heal?
Oh, okay. So my very first legit job was when I was 12 years old. I actually worked in like a dog and a cat kennel, which was like just right on the 401 and Keel Street, like where the bridge is. So it was there, and I stayed there for about 2.5 years, and I loved it. And just animals was always my thing. My mom even will say today, I should have been a veterinarian. Yeah, but I knew I was doing healing through that way, as anybody that has an animal, like, like as yourself, like look at your ranch, you love them, they know, you're communicating telepathy energetically because animals and nature know about energy. It's us as humans that we get this little confused. And this is where, indigenous, we have to learn from them because they've always had this, right? So that's where, when people call it the new age, it's not really new age. It's old information that we've always had, whether it being this lifetime or another lifetime. It's always there. We all have innate abilities.
I think it should be changed from new age to new awareness.
Yes. Yes, I like that. That is so true. Because like I said, everyone has either had a thought or some kind of feeling, may have not have spoke about it, openly, right? And some will speak of it openly. But no matter what, it's all there. We've all had this, and we all have these abilities. We all have innate abilities that some of us never learned in this lifetime. Like you can't explain somebody that can be a Mozart person and have never even been taught it, to playing the piano, and they just have it. Well, it's there.
Well, this is one of my pet theories, which is, let's say someone is born with red hair and neither of the parents have red hair,
Yes.
but we go back 2-3 generations and there is Grandpa Zebediah with his flaming red hair.
Yeah.
So that gene was passed on but not used for 1, 2, 3 generations.
Yes.
So I'm saying knowledge. Surely knowledge does not die when a person leaves its body.
No, it
That
doesn't.
knowledge is inside the brain.
Well, it's in the field, right? It's in our soul. It's in our energy. Whether
Right.
you want to call it aura, like the brain, it's still, the physical body still has energy because the soul's in it, right?
Right.
So they're classified as, like when we talk about in hypnosis, it's classified as a cellular memory. So whether, like what you're just stating, whether it being this lifetime or another, but there's also ancestral healing. And that is, once again, a lot of people will talk about that from our so-called past, right? Because everything is simultaneously, right? So the past, as being like 2 seconds ago, is the past, right? So being the past from an ancestor that you have not even heard of or even known or not even seen a pic, that have gone through some kind of trauma or some kind of like beautifulness about them, right? Some greatness. You will carry that into your physical body as well as the other bodies, and these are called cellular memories. And that's why a lot of people go into regression, or whether that you call it regression therapy or past life, whatever. It is all there, and it's our subconscious getting into that information so greatly instead of the conscious being in that, like that blockage, right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I'm saying for the people, for the scientists who poo-poo
Yeah, I
these
know.
things, let us just because one thing they will acknowledge are genes.
Yes.
We
Yes.
all have genes, and genes
Yeah.
are passed on.
Yeah.
Therefore, there must be knowledge genes.
Yes. Yeah.
So that, why did the ancient Egyptians
Yeah.
do brain surgery? We have found through hieroglyphics they were able to do brain surgery.
Yeah.
And then brain surgery just stopped for centuries, 1,000 years, and suddenly there is brain surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just didn't say, "Oh, I've just discovered I can cut open a brain." And no, somebody else once upon a time knew how to do it.
Yes.
Mozart, way back somewhere, his predecessor, there must have been somebody who just played all that music, and for generations it lay dormant. And then it's not a blessing that is appointed upon you. It's something that's inherent in your DNA. There's another scientific word for the disbelievers.
Yeah, yeah. And there's also, if you actually look into a lot of people's work, right, that they end up talking about epigenetics, especially Dr. Bruce Lipton. So it's just the same as like when you're talking about like a DNA, you also have that. Say if you were brought up with an alcoholic father, and people are like, oh well, you can't have alcohol because you're going to be like an alcoholic, right? So it ends up being in that environment, right? Because it will be part of the abuse that the child has gone through. They also state that this will be put into their genes, which is called the epigenetic genes, that whatever your environment is, so you have your little circled environment of whatever it is in there, it ends up being that, and people will create it of being that problem. And it's mind-blowing because there's so much that science is not even touched. And will they ever? Who knows, right? But the point is that we have to bring spirit and science together, and to understanding that our energy is so vast that it's like the biggest computer ever, that we can get information in somewhere on something. Because just alone, if you know, like Edgar Cayce, right? The sleeping prophet is what he used to be called. The information that he would even receive just laying there and someone asking him questions, right? And it's part of being hypnosis as well, because he's going into a relaxed state, right? Which is the theta, and receiving that information. Anyone can do this. Everyone is hypnotized some part in their life, as with a facilitator, or even just driving to the store and you're maybe on the phone or whatever, being distracted, just focusing on the conversation. It's hypnosis. It's getting into that focused attention. And then you get there and you're like, oh, wow, that was fast. You know, so it's everybody is in hypnosis practically every day.
Why do you think so many people are resistant to accepting this?
Yeah.
Is it because of religious upbringing? Because if you're going to go with that and you say, well, you know, there's a guy up there, you know, up in heaven and he's directing everything. Well, hello.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's fear. I think it's whoever, like I was saying to you, whether it's going back to like the epigenetics, like how you're being brought up, how, you know, the way that our patterns and our cycles of being taught, whether it being in school, whether it being in family, being in your surrounding, your whole environment. If someone feeds off fear and you witness something of that, of fear, you're going to be like, oh, wow, wait a second. That sort of freaks me out. You know, because in reality, every cellular memory, we have triggers. Everyone knows this, you know, like psychology, we have triggers. The trigger could be a sentence that somebody has said, or somebody's seen a vision, anything. So when that trigger happens, whether that cellular memory is in this lifetime or another lifetime, it will trigger. And it will cause that kind of fear. And this is why I feel that majority of people are feared of this kind of stuff when they're the unknown, right? Or if the trigger is from a past life that something has feared them, because they could have been, let's go to the Salem witches, right? The Salem witches, they've been like, you know, burned and everything, right? And we have other ancestry way back. Hung, exactly, or guillotine, whatever it is, right? If that was about a point that's saying like, oh, well, you know what? I believe this because I'm sensing this or I'm seeing this. And if that person doesn't see it, right? They're going to like, oh, no, there's something with them. They're a witch. And it's like off with the head or burnt alive, you know? It's all about fear that stops that. And I think that that's grown way too much. But like I said, in this time frame now, we're in a time frame that people are becoming that awareness, like you said at the beginning, because awareness is important. Awareness with yourself just alone, right, teaches you so much, because just knowing about your own fears, knowing that, you know, what trauma do I have that I've gone through, what do I have to heal to be able to better my life, right? Because self-love and knowing your self-worth is very important, right? And what we are is what we'll attract. So what we are as well, we put out that energy out to the field. And that's how the energetic comes, right? That we end up attracting that. So if we have the subconscious and the conscious, right? Those two things alone fighting against each other, you know, saying like, no, I don't have this, I don't have that, and being dissociative behavior. Well, you know, people are saying, oh, well, why am I attracting this? Well, it's like, it's like, what is in your subconscious? What are you hiding? What is your fears? What is your trauma? So that's where all hypnotists go into the point of helping the people to relieve that, right? To heal that, because the subconscious is really where a huge secret lies.
I remember, and we're not going to name names, he's gone to heaven, but a very dear friend of mine who I felt you could help.
Yes.
And he was just totally resistant.
Yeah. And some people will be that. But no matter what, he went into hypnosis.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
and when you get a resistance like that, right, you just do what you can do. But that's why some people will go from like doing one session to another session to another session, right? It's just like going to a counselor or a psychiatrist. You go to one session to another, right? But the thing is that hypnosis there's such significant evidence of people that have post-traumatic stress disorder of helping, right? So it's that there's like so much significant, like we have Dolores Cannon, her famous work. Then we have actually Dr. Georgina Cannon, that she's here in Canada and very well known. And then we have, Michael Newton, Dr. Michael Newton. He's passed, God bless, right? Same with Dolores Cannon. She's passed, God bless. But the list goes on. Then you have Dr. Bruce Lipton. He talks about it. Then we have Dr. Bruce Goldberg. All of these people started somewhere. Then they ended up getting into hypnosis. It wasn't just by accident. It just happened with their patients. And then they knew that from there, they went on to going to there. And they stuck with hypnosis because, like I said, it's bigger than a computer. It's so vast, the information that you can receive, because I can have somebody under for hypnosis and receive information for somebody else.
Interesting. Can
Yeah.
you elaborate on that, please?
Well, it's because we're going into like the Akashic records, right?
Right.
Dr. Michael Newton, the life between lives, that he called it, but the same with Dolores Cannon, she called it something else, but it's just like, she calls it about the quantum healing hypnosis technique. But what it is going into the higher self, which some people call the Christ consciousness or the oversoul, right? There's different names that people have it. It's just going into, like, just think about this, like into a space that you can receive any kind of information, whether it being for yourself or somebody else. And they just ask the questions into whatever. And because when a client comes to one of us, it's about their trauma that we're having to help. You just ask, like, do you have questions? And then, you sit and you talk, and that's what happens in the consultation. And you get that, and then you just go through. So when I do a hypnosis for clients, they always get a recording. Always get a recording. So they hear the whole conversation. And a lot of people that come out, sometimes they go into somnambulism. Sometimes they'll do like an up and down sort of roller coaster that they'll remember, and then they don't remember. And that's usual. But no matter what, they're just so mind-boggled when they listen to that recording. They're like, I can't believe that even happened. Because they always had a disbelief. They always like heard it, but they're like, oh, okay, let me just see. And then, like you said, some people are so resistant that they're like, oh, I can't be hypnotized. No, it's just that you're afraid for healing. And a lot of people do get to that fear of healing. It's just the same as when people are in trauma, right? An abusive relationship. They get so comfortable in the relationship. So look at Stockholm Syndrome. Right? That they don't understand that it's like, you can't be into that. For you to heal, you have to come away, and you have to not be feared about it. But it's just having to know how to handle people that go through Stockholm Syndrome or any of these kind of post-traumatic stress disorders, anything, right? So when you end up having a one-on-one, you'll know exactly where to be guided for them, if they are the client for you or if you have to go somewhere else.
So what caused you to finally take the leap from amateur healer back in the early 2000s to going and getting a degree?
Leaving my ex, 17 years abuse. And realize like I have to just be done. And I just always had this inner knowing, and like I said to you, going back to when I was a kid, just knowing that everyone has psychic abilities, but just, it was just normal. So when being so compassionate and kind person as a healer, like I said, we allow the abusers to do, right? But also we have to take accountability of that, because it is 50-50. We allow the abusers to do that to us, right? And if we allow ourselves to stick with it, we have to take accountability, right? But it doesn't always be accountability on both sides. But I took accountability. I forgave, all of all the people in my past, my father, everything, you know, my exes, all of them, right? I forgave them. I knew it was a learning journey. I had that epiphany of understanding. And that's what really sort of excelled, of just leaving that relationship of just 17 years and going into saying, okay, you know what? I need to do this and I need to do that. And it started going like one thing and then another thing and then another thing and so on. And the more that I did that, the more I connected with the source, the, you know, God, the divine, whatever you want to put that energy to, the higher of the highest. I just started connecting with that. And that really started with being within. That's when they talk about meditation, going within. You know, it doesn't mean just silencing. It's even like some of us go for a nice walk in the forest, and that's meditation. You know what I mean? It's just pushing out all the fears and everything, the stresses, the worries for the day, and just saying, let's just be, you know, in that moment. Because when you connect, you're connecting with everything. Because me, you, everything, there's no difference from any of us. We all go through shit in life, right? And we have to understand that there is healing to be done, whether it being in this lifetime or another. But no matter what, we go through it for a purpose. Why? Because the actual soul loves, we thrive off of learning from the negative and the positive. So taking accountability of understanding that me staying in a 17-year relationship of abuse, I gave my abuse too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to stand there if somebody's going to hit me, you know, and take it. I'm a very fiery person, you know what I mean? But that is the old Deanna. I'm not like that anymore. I had to learn that that was not right for me to, like, if you're hitting me, it doesn't mean that I have the right to hit that person. And I realized it, and I said, the only way that I need to do is I need to end this relationship and leave, because if I don't do it, it's not going to be good. And I didn't want to get to that point. So I left, and it just started a whole, like, it opened up such greatness for me, because my spirit guides told me that you need to leave now. You've delayed this too long. You need to leave now. And I kept on ignoring it. And then one day I just heard it very loud, and I said, okay, I'm doing it. And I did it. And it was the best thing I ever freaking did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've learned so much, right? But I have to be grateful for those negatives.
I have been telling people now for months, but there is a new pandemic, and it's called narcissism.
You know, right?
and it's to the fact that the most powerful man in the world
Yes.
has been identified
Yeah.
by numerous people in the scientific community and medical community as a malignant narcissist, and yet he is still allowed to be out there, bringing us to the brink of a catastrophe.
Yes.
And
the
it just
crazy
seems
part-
to be everywhere.
Yes, and it's you see, you're not alone, right? Because there is so much darkness out there that we've been dealing with it. Like I said to you, that we get comfortable in the darkness, right, of this trauma.
Right.
And then when you have that rude awakening, saying like, oh shit, like I need to back off of this. Like, how do I break free to be freedom? And once that person gets that taste of freedom, they know it's like, okay, now I just got to run. I just got to go. Like, it has to happen like now. And that's the greatness, because the thing is that you are going to have darkness be darkness, right? You are. They're just going to be, because you see, you can't take on their shit too. If they don't want to take on their shit, they have to understand there is the law of karma. That's just the reality. Because I'll tell you what, darkness loves suffering. That is one thing that they love. So this narcissist will eventually fall apart mentally, emotionally, and physically. Because why? Because that's what darkness does. Negative, like holding on, negative hate against somebody, you know what I mean? Just being that angered and all that kind of like negative emotions and feelings, eventually it's going to affect you somehow. The person may say, oh, I'm going good, things are happening, blah, blah. No, eventually you're going to see that one day. Either that's going to be the person going to drop dead just point blank, or it's going to be suffering for a very long time. But the thing is that they always have to take accountability, which I know narcissists don't, but that's their own problem. It's not yours, right? Even though that you, in that moment when they go on with the negativity, that you feel it is your problem, but it's not, you know what I mean? Because that's the gaslighting. Right? Like when they give that kind of thing and they lure you into it and you're like, oh, frig, it's my fault, blah, blah, blah. No, you know, when you have that epiphany understanding how psychology works, that there is that, you know, it's almost like a whisper. You know, it's like, oh no, there's no abuse, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's all you, you know, like that kind of thing. When you have that and you break free, that's all you need to do is just stick with it. Stick with the light, because darkness will keep on pecking at, you know, like when you have chickens, they'll peck at something over and over and over. You know what I mean? And that's just what they do. Like all birds do this, right? So the thing is that as long as you stick with the light and don't let the darkness take you back down to where you went, you know, like way up. So like when you break free from a relationship like that, right? So just think about it. You leap 1 million steps, but they will do their best to bring you down. And sometimes you come down a little bit, right? But the thing is, you didn't go 1 million steps up to come back 10 million behind. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
So it's just understanding, stick with the light, whether it's prayers, whether it is meditation, whatever that keeps you, even if getting an energetic healing, whatever it is, you need to get rid of those daggers that they put in, the you know, the tentacles that they love to do. You know, they just love to take you down. And when you understand your own power within, that's all it's about, is taking your power back, saying, you know what, not anymore. This, like, I'm blocking it, I'm done, the cord is cut. Yes, I understand totally, especially when children's involved, because I had my children, you had your children, you know what I mean? And it's very hard, because I find that, just being my own experience, that parents always stick in that abusive relationship for the children. But I will always say this, children, it doesn't matter how old they are, whether they're 2 months to 10,000 years old, okay? The reality is children are not stupid. When they see that mommy and daddy were all nice, and then all of a sudden mommy and daddy are not, they're not stupid. They know what's happening. But they end up becoming into understanding, okay, this is the way I'm being taught now. And they just absorb it. They just take it. They accept it, right? And it's really sad going through that, because a lot of children go through this. And then that's where alienation happens, which is a lot of crap, because you and I both know these systems that we have, they freaking suck.
Yep.
Like
Family court.
freaking suck. You know, and to me, it's disgusting, right? But this is part of now the huge awareness, the time of truth, that these kind of systems are going to crumble. That's what it's supposed to happen, because what has not been working and has only been working for darkness, is not working for light, is now going to crumble, because now light is going to start winning big time. And that's why I always say to my clients, I always just tell yourself that light will only win in your life, and taking your power back, knowing that you have more power, because in reality, darkness does what they do, okay, to anyone, whether they know people or not, right? They thrive off of it. Why? Because they know how fucking powerful you are. That's why they like to be irritants. They like to irritate the shit out of you till you crumble down with them, right? Because they want your power. They want what they can't have. That's really the reality. And you can ask any healer this question, and they will agree to what I just said. They will say yes, because all of us healers, right, in this life, we've seen it from one client to another, or even within ourselves, even with friends, family. It's a lot of shit. But the thing is, no matter what, you know, like what they always say, that old saying, is like, when you hit rock bottom, it's only up from there. That's the reality. And it's just, and keep thinking that. You can't let darkness win anymore. So that's why I say let light win. That's the only thing that's going to win in your life. That's all that matters. Because you know what? You can't, the darkness can't take love away. They wish they had it. Love is everything, right? That's where nature, that's where, like, your animals, children, you know what I mean? This is, they have the love until they have that taste of the abuse. Then it changes their personality.
Do you see why I love this woman? I
That's
felt
why I
like
love you.
I've just taken another fabulous shower. And just because she's up in Canada does not mean you cannot avail yourself of her services.
Right.
How do they get in touch with you, Deanna?
Yes, well, they can go on my website, deannablackhealer.com, and everything is listed, because, yes, I do remote healing, everything. I am expanding. I have books on the go that I'm writing.
Yay!
I know. And I'm wanting to do more workshops, but I love what I do. I have passion and I love seeing people heal. That's it. I love their success. I'm one of those people that are unique because there is a lot of darkness that don't want people to succeed, but I am the light and I will always be the light. And I am here for everyone to have their shine and to keep on shining. Yeah.
Well, I'm shining.
Exactly.
This has been Paid to Dream with my extraordinary special guest, Deanna Black. Until the next time, if you like the show, I keep telling you, click like. Come back to us soon. Deanna, thank you.
Thank you.